So I put this together. I want to discuss the difference between a rich CEO and a poor CEO. And I labeled it the $1,000 per hour CEO. And this is our rich CEO. This is our poor CEO. We cannot expect to run a $10 million business or a $100 million business operating it like a $10 employee. And what I see that all of us have done, and what other agency owners have done, is most agency owners are stuck doing $10 per hour tasks instead of $5,000 per hour work. In this presentation that I'm going to share with you guys, I'm going to show you exactly how to fix this so that we can scale faster with less stress and more profit. And the first thing that we need to do, and I know that all three of us here have read the book Buy Back Your Time. So I formulated this off of Dan Martell's formula, but I made some changes to it. And I wanted to make it very simple. I wanted to make it simple so that you guys can do this in 30 seconds, right? So the first thing we need to do is determine what our annual revenue goal is. And I'm just going to use example numbers. You guys both know where we want to be. You can do your own math. But let's say we wanted to be at $1 million per year. Thank God we're all well beyond that. But let's say that was our target for easy numbers. We would then divide that target by 2,000 hours, which is the approximate number of working hours in a year. So an example is 1 million divided by 2,000, which is 500 per hour. And then here's where I adapted this for us. I added in 30% to account for the value of growth focused work, to make sure that the tasks that we're doing are valued at the hourly rate that's bringing value to the business. So I said 30%, meaning if it was $1 million divided by 2,000, which is 500, we would add 30% to that number, which would give us our hourly rate of $650 per hour. Now, this is the hourly rate in the agency of the tasks that we should be doing. They would have to be $650 per hour or higher, right? Ours would all be much higher than this, but this is how you get the number, right? So I'll give you the formula so you could do this yourself. Every task that you do that doesn't generate or protect $650 per hour in value is costing you money and time. That's why this matters. And an easy way to break this down is categorizing just some examples of what a high value task is and what a low value task. So I put a general number on what I would consider a high value task. $1,000 per hour, I think, is reasonable. Again, I feel like a lot of agency owners and even us, our hourly rate's going to be higher than that. But I would take everything that is at $1,000 per hour task and say that's a high value task. And here's some examples of things that I feel are high value. Paid ads or funnel optimization. Now, I don't necessarily mean getting in and doing it ourselves, although sometimes that is what it takes, but creating, testing, and scaling our ad campaigns and ensuring a high ROI and reducing churn. That doesn't really make sense for this, but ensuring that our ads are performing and generating us new business. All three of us over the last month or 2 months have seen what happens when ads are both working, the amount of business we could generate, and what happens when ads are not working, the lack of new business that we can generate. So this is something that I would categorize as a high value task. The next one is organic content creation. Now, even though this doesn't immediately generate revenue and business for us, long-term, I think that this is one of the most high value tasks that we can do in our agency, building both our personal brand and the brand of our business through YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Reels, blogs, using the podcast in the private groups, building authority. And the reason obviously for this is not only that eventually we can build an organic machine to generate new business, but organic makes every single other channel better, right? It makes paid advertising better. It makes email outreach better. It makes everything better. Even our existing, I believe it even reduces churn, right? If existing clients or prospective clients can search and find valuable information out there or get to know the CEO better, overall, the business will do better. The reason that most CEOs don't invest in this is obviously because it takes time and there's no immediate gratification. And what we do is we dabble in this a little bit and then we go, well, this isn't working. So let me just go back to what I had a conversation with someone this week who was asking about content, and he was asking how much content he has to create in order to just do the bare minimum to get results. And what I've discovered, and I think, Dave, I know you've learned a lot about this too recently, but what I've discovered is that content is the same as every other channel. It is not something you can dabble in and have any success at all. Just like paid ads. We can't half-ass paid, or I think a better example is cold email, right? Cold email is never successful because I think we dabble in it and then we go, that doesn't work. Let's go back to paid ads. But any individual channel that we want to generate, we have to be all in on it. And organic is the exact same way. So it's something you have to be all in, generating a ton of quantity on a weekly basis, or pretty much don't do it all. Strategic partnerships. I think Elevate's done great here, but there's opportunity for both the agencies agencies to do better with this, partnering with coaches, consultants, all the big partners out there. And that typically leads to speaking engagements. And I haven't personally found anything that establishes more authority than getting up on stage and speaking to people. The dynamic of getting off stage or having people come and want to talk to you or reach out to us afterwards completely changes the game when we talk about acquisition. So, I've shared some strategies with you guys, but if the sales team is not reaching out to first of all, if we don't have a list of all the large partners out there that we could potentially work with, coaches, software providers, right? Like CRM providers, franchises, consultants, pretty much any business, any large business out there that works with gyms or works with chiropractors that doesn't directly overlap with our services, we should have a list with every single name of them. And then we should have somebody on our team reaching out to them regularly with the strategy that I suggested, which is, hey, we have additional sponsorship money and we'd love to see if there's an opportunity to work with you. That's the best way to at least start a conversation. And we never know, like one little door, one little opportunity could lead to something big. So things that we've already discussed, but just a reminder that if we do this regularly, like the opportunities will be there. And then hiring and developing top talent. We talked about this last week, but like recruiting high performing team members to scale the business, I think is one of the highest value tasks that we could possibly do, which is why like the tools that we discussed last week, I think are valuable and important, but not only looking at recruiting top talent, but also looking at the people that are operating in the business that shouldn't be there anymore, which is what we were just talking about, Kendall. All high value tasks. Low value tasks, which would be $10 to $100 per hour, would be things like pulling data, editing and scheduling social media posts or advertisements or creative or whatever it may be, setting up and troubleshooting anything that has to do with tech, Zapier, GHL, integrations, any of those things, administrative tasks, email, scheduling calls, etc. This is why I also feel like an executive assistant is so important when you get at a certain level. It might seem like a luxury and you might feel like, oh, I don't deserve this, but it's actually one of the best things that you could do for the business because it stops you from doing the personal low value tasks like scheduling calls, checking emails, going through your calendar weekly, and basic onboarding tasks. These are, again, just examples. I'm sure if I asked either one of you, you could rifle off 20 other ones. So here's a plan how to remove low value tasks from your plate. Step one, identify tasks to delegate. So write down everything that we do on a weekly basis. By the way, I just did this myself and I completely reorganized my schedule, which is why when you looked at my schedule, Dave, you were like, you don't have much time this week. And that's intentional. But write down everything, like audit what you're doing on a weekly basis, highlight tasks that are not in alignment with your hourly rate calculation. What things did you do last week that are not worth your time that somebody else should be doing? Then number two, here's where we also fail. And again, I raise my own hand here, create systems for delegation. The crazy thing is that we already do this. We train people and send people Loom videos on things we want them to do. We just don't systemize and process it in a way that we can give it to the next person, right? Use Loom or copy my back-to-back training. Here's what I used to do. When there was something that I was doing that I wanted to give to another team member, I would schedule 3 1-hour back-to-back meetings, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 1-hour meetings. In those meetings, I would break down like anything. We could pull up anything that I was doing. Let's just say early on in the agency days when I was running ads for the clients or I was launching, I would do 3 back-to-back. I would get everybody that I want to potentially delegate it to, sometimes even more people than that. I would spend every day back-to-back going through it, recording it. While I was recording it, I would be writing it on a Google Word doc, step by step. And this was before ChatGPT days. Now we have the luxury of organizing it in a great SOP. I would have to write it down in some sloppy SOP, but I would record it. And then I would ask them any questions that they had. And they would either send the questions later and I would reply to them with Loom videos, or I would reply in those trainings. I would take all of that and I would put it in a folder somewhere. And then that was training on how to run ads. So we can apply this to anything. But the one thing that I think we have to get better at is documenting this and then organizing it somewhere and then going, I'm never doing this again. I'm never training another salesperson again because it's all here. Until they go watch all this stuff and understand the stuff that I just taught somebody else, that I'm just going to repeat the same thing to them, then I'm not going to answer any questions. And I would say that to the new team members, like go through this, or even those that are training the new team members. Like if we're delegating the training of the team member to somebody, it's like, go watch this. Here's what you need to understand. And then here's what you need to train, right? Record yourself performing the task 3 times over the week, include all new nuance and best practices, go high level. What do they call it now? I forgot, courses or whatever. Just go build an internal course, right? Or Kajabi or whatever we're using. And every time we record this stuff, create a section, create a habit, or delegate this to an EA to take all the recordings, put it in there, title it whatever it's relevant. And then every time we need to train somebody or they ask about that, or we need to retrain somebody on it, they just go in there and do it. Store these videos and create an internal knowledge base. Next time you hire, onboarding for that task is automatic. You don't ever need to do that again with anybody. Even if we do need to get on with people, I'm not saying we're never going to be able to get on with people, but even if we do, imagine the jumping off point if they went through it, right? Now it's like we could have more intelligent conversations with with them if they went through and actually watched it, rather than starting all the way at the beginning with what we're training them on. Delegate to the right people, VAs or contractors for repetitive tasks, whatever. Use tools like ClickUp or Asana to manage tasks. So what I did this week, what I would tell you guys to do is calculate your hourly rate, write it down somewhere, and determine which tasks you're doing that align with it or don't align with it. Delegate everything below your $1,000 an hour, $5,000 an hour, $10,000, whatever yours is, delegate that, and then spend your free time. Don't just go chill. Spend your free time on the high ROI activities that actually drive growth to the business. And number 4, the most important piece of it, use your calendar to intelligently prioritize.